So notice the way in which what's here, this experience, has no inside or outside to it. Again, I was hearing somebody the other day, I've been doing some like yoga. It's been feeling nice. And the yoga instructor was talking about like going inside. And she said that, and I was thinking, what are you talking about? Going inside? As opposed to what? Yeah, so just feel the way in which inside, like what does that mean? I mean, go outside of whatever you imagine is not inside. Go outside, say, of the self. And you go there and is it inside? Is it outside? It's the experience transcends outside, inside. There's no inside or outside. There's just this. Just like there's no here or there. There's just, we could say it's all just here, or it's all just there. I mean, when those distinctions are seen to be not hold up under scrutiny, then it doesn't matter whether you call it here or there. Maybe one word or the other might be more evocative of recognizing that which is beyond those distinctions, but basically no word suffices. Is it here? Is it there? Is it inside? Is it outside? It just is, with no seeming distinction in those kinds of ways. I just feel the way that is the case. Experience transcends those distinctions, just obviously. Notice also the way in which this experience that's here, again, I mean, I'm giving a word to what's here, but there can't really, let's just say something that's present, this moment that's present, is notice the way in which you absolutely cannot find the beginning of this. When does this begin? Nor can you find when this ends. This is outside of that framework of beginning and ending, isn't it? It's just immediately, less than the snap of a finger. It's just here. And experientially, I mean, in our minds, conceptually, we may be able to trace what we think of as what's led up to this instant, what came before it. But experientially, we never experience what came before. We always just experience this instant. This is what we're experiencing right now. It's like sometimes people will refer to it like a point event. Like it's just a tiny, what we would call now, the immediacy is just, and feel when is it actually now? Feel how small, infinitesimally small, what we might call the moment is, how it's just here, but it has what's here doesn't hold still, right? It has no duration to it. So we can't really say whether the moment, whether what's here is appearing, or has it appeared, or is it disappearing? Is it in an activity of appearance or disappearance, of arising or of passing away? It's so beyond time, isn't it? Feel the way in which that is so. And in its ever vanishing non-durational nature, what's here, right? How it can't really be, you can't really grasp hold of something, can you? The moment can't be, it's not holding in place, it's not holding still, which is why we can't actually locate it and define it and pin it down. Because whatever we've seemingly been able to pin down is not here anymore. So we're playing in imagination, we're playing in memory when we're defining and pinning down seemingly what's here. Just feel the way that this is so ungraspable. And yet what's so wild is, despite what you could call its radical discontinuity, that it keeps vanishing, it keeps disappearing, has no continuation to it, there's the sense of what's here is absolutely uninterrupted. It's continuous. It doesn't go away. It's ever present. It's just constant. There's a constancy to what's here. Even as what's here is in flux. So it's very seemingly contradictory, constant but always in flux, but constant but always in flux. You really can't say whether it's either one of those, because again, you can't pin it down, right? You can't define it. And notice the way in which what's here is also here effortlessly. In other words, there's no sense that John, the person, or John, the personality, is somehow generating what's here. The feeling is it's just simply sustaining itself, creating itself, generating itself somehow. It's self-shining. It shines on its own, doesn't it? And we are, whatever we might be, we're just experience. And so the experience of what we think of as our life is also this effortless shining, isn't it? This effortless appearing, this effortless emanation of life, the apparition of life. This is all what we're experiencing. This is not philosophy. This is just what's being felt right now. Another astonishing thing is that you can't find anything else but this. There's not something else. There's just this. I mean, maybe hypothetically there's something else. But if you were to discover the something else, it would be this. It would always just be this. It always would be just what's here. There is no other reality. This is the whole thing. Notice how in its shape-shifting, ever morphing, in this sort of state, if you will, of constantly becoming something else, like it it feels like an opening that just doesn't like stop for a moment and then open a little bit more and then stop, and it's like never, it's just this constant um I don't know if you can see in the cloud picture, and um, that for those who are seeing images, the clouds are such a great metaphor for this, that they're in this, they're reshaping themselves in this endless reshaping. And what's we can also feel right now is how completely unpredictable the reshaping is, right? Like we're literally being, you could say, being taken on a ride. We are the ride. We are the one being taken and the ride itself. I mean, it's an inseparable flow, right? But it's always unexpected. It's always a surprise. It's never predictable. What is the way that this will, the way the moment will shape itself is not predictable. Every thought, everything that we might call a thought, a feeling, a sensation, completely unpredictable. How that will arise and take shape and reshape itself and appear or disappear. It's just wholly unpredictable. Notice how it's not possible for what's here to be any other way than the way that it is. We might be engaged at times in the game of like wishing it would be different, wondering why it is the way that it is, trying to be more open to it, more accepting of it, less judging of it, and on and on and on. But meanwhile, it just is as it is. And the whole process of accepting or rejecting what's present here is sort of beside the point in a way. It just is already here. It's already been allowed, in a sense. The universe has already made room for this moment to be here because here is the moment. So it's been radically, if you want to use the word acceptance, it's been radically accepted. Everything that's here has already been we're late to the game, like saying, oh, I'm going to be in some sort of orientation to it that's more accepting and open. It's like, no, it's just here. It's already the radical openness of reality itself, just being itself, exploding as however it is, shining forth however it is. Notice the way in which the field of experience, the field of this, is unthinkably so richly like detailed with all these little specific details, little, just the way the wind is moving the tree out my window, and the particular colors and very specific sounds of these birds that they're making, and the way my hands are formed in this particular way, and the fly that's just flying across my window, and um, all these just infinite details in the field of experience. And yet it shows up as all these seemingly separate pieces, detailed pieces in the field. but it's just a singular field of aliveness. Everything is alive. Everything is this life. Everything is this aliveness, the presence of what is. And notice how we're engaging in this process of noticing what's here. Call it experience, call it the field, call it this. But it's like we are the field, noticing the field. In other words, we're not, feel the way in which whatever you imagine yourself to be is without an edge. In other words, experientially, no edges can be located. So it's much more like the field of experiencing, feeling itself as the field of experiencing, not like a person noticing the field of experience as somehow it's separate, like on the outside over here looking at the field or feeling the field. It's like it's just the field of experiencing. Completely seamless. Feel the complete openness of the field. Every seeming piece of the field is open to every other seeming piece of the field. In other words, no boundaries anywhere between anything. Everything mixing together and yet seemingly discrete, but everything completely mixed together in this boundless, seamless soup of life. We're often looking for something else, some other moment, right? But in this very instant of experiencing is everything that's longed for by the human / spiritual seeker. All the openness, all the fullness, all the wholeness, all the vitality, all the boundlessness, all the ease. Is right in this very moment, just as it is. And in a sense, that's always the case, but somehow there's the sense that when there's a noticing or an appreciation of the fact of what's here, of how full it actually is, how indescribable it actually is, how boundless and borderless it is, how ungraspable it is, um, how transcendental it is. We get to, when that's noticed, as we're noticing it right now, we get to enjoy that. We get to enjoy those kind of primal qualities, you could say, of what's here, which really are beyond all of our classical descriptions and definitions of things. It's perfect. It's the great perfection, as they say in Tibet, in the Tibetan tradition. Perfect in the sense of it transcends the normal categories of perfect and imperfect. In that sense, it's perfect because it's lacking nothing. Lack and limitation is simply a way, sometimes the consciousness describes this as somehow missing something, lacking something, not enough. But what's here, it can't be pinned down again, right? As I was saying, like the clouds are constantly shifting their shape. You can't pin them down, what their shape is. How can you describe the moment as lacking if you can't pin down the moment? Well, you can't pin down the moment. And that's why it has no lack. It has no definition. Well, we can say the felt sense of that indefinability, indescribability is a kind of fullness and completeness. You could also just call it the absence of any lack, but we could put it in a more positive term that it's just this energetic, emanating, shining, isn't it? Isn't it right here, the shining? You are the shining. Everything is the shining. Our moments of difficulty are the shining that we describe as difficult. Our moments of confusion that we describe as confusion are the shining of this basic indescribability underlying each moment. It can show up as everything and everything that it shows up as, seemingly. But it's never merely what we're calling it or labeling it or describing it. It's much, 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 much more than that. Unfathomably more, endlessly more. What's cool is that I was talking to a friend about this yesterday, how the sense of the field of this is that it's holographic in the sense that each seeming little piece of it, the tiniest little seemingly insignificant piece of it, is the whole, right? Because it's like a tiny point in the sky is inseparable from the whole of the sky, isn't it? It's made of the sky. So every little point of experience, every little instant of experience, no matter how it's being labeled and described, is none other than the absolute reality, the transcendental reality. So that's this little free ebook that I pulled together from some of the memes that I've been writing over the last couple of years. It's called Everything is a Doorway. And that's why I call it that, because everything is a doorway into the same fundamental infinite reality. Everything is a doorway because everything is made of that, whatever everything is made of, which just can't be said. So that makes it's kind of convenient, because in a sense, you're always walking through the door. You're always entering the doorway. The doorway is just this. You don't have to go anywhere else or experiencing anything else other than what you're experiencing, because this is it.